The Drazzy Show. Welcome to the Drazzy Show. Today I have another very special guest. We have
Peter Phelps.
Hello, Peter Phelps. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. So, Peter Phelps, what is it that you do?
I'm an integrative psychotherapist, which means that I deal with almost anything emotional or psychological. So that would be, relationship stuff, addictions, anxiety disorders, a whole range of different things.
Okay, that's very interesting. So, what are the main ones that you seem to be dealing with a lot lately?
Addictions.
Addictions.
Big part of my therapy practice.
With addiction, I'm sure there's a whole range of it. Is it just like with drugs, or is it to do with food? Is it to do with like computer games? Like people can have all kinds of addictions.
It can be all kinds of different things. There's a lot of drug addiction out there at the moment.
Okay.
There's, especially with stuff like Coke, that has just grown massively over the last probably decade, I would say, sort of 10, 15 years, if you go back 15 years or so, it was less prevalent than it is today. It was quite underground. And then certainly over the last 10 years, it's exploded massively. It's become normalized. That's the worrying thing, is whereas people used to go out for a few drinks and cigarettes and that kind of thing, cigarette smoking has really died down, and instead people go out for a few drinks and a few lines of Coke.
Wow.
It's become completely normalized, and it's become available, almost kind of freely available. It's in all the pubs, it's in all the clubs. And the worrying thing is that it's taken over people's lives.
I can imagine because it is quite an expensive addiction. Even though it's become normalized, it's still quite expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap, exactly. And so, you end up with all kinds of problems associated with it as well. Health issues, which is just one element of it, but also causes problems in families. It causes problems with people's work, general lifestyle things, because, going out on a big night on the Coke, it really messes you up.
Yeah. When you say it causes problems in a family, what kind of problems do you think it causes in families? Like, what's some of the most, common ones that you've come across?
The thing that I come across generally is somebody that's developed a Coke habit, and they're doing it regularly. Quite often they're doing it in secret. They're doing it, they've got a spouse or whatever. It's like their dirty secret.
I see.
Then it comes out because you can spot the signs. If you're married to somebody that's doing Coke socially, you'll see the change in their behaviour. You'll see how it starts to affect them, and then once that's out in the open, then you've got pressure. You've got to stop doing this. And where's all our money going? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's true. The financial aspect of it as well, that can be very, very complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. And it depends on the quantity that you're doing. If you're doing a couple of lines with your mates once a fortnight, that's not a huge deal, but if it then starts to get a hold on you and you're doing it weekly, and then you're doing it 2 or 3 times a week, and then it's kind of really spiraling out of control, that's when people come to me for help.
See, and how do they know they need help? Because with addiction, sometimes people can be in denial. What makes them think, okay, I definitely need to go and seek some professional help?
Usually, there's a point, something happens where they recognise that they are in a mess, and it could be that they've been confronted by their partner, for example. It's like, it's either me or the Coke. If you don't sort this out, I'm going. Their life is falling apart. It could be that. It could be health issues. It could be somebody that otherwise leads a really healthy lifestyle. They take care of themselves. They might eat a really, really good diet. They work out, but they've got this habit that they can't get rid of. It's like, I'm trying to stop it, but I can't, and I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do to get this get this thing out of my life. And that's where I come in. I've got solutions to help people to regain control, over their addiction, over their habit, and get their life back on track.
Wow.
And the other element to that is, of course, you've got organisations like CA, Cocaine Anonymous, NA, Narcotics Anonymous, who offer group work, and they offer their 12-step program, which is very like AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, okay? But not everybody likes going to a group and talking about their, talking about their secret.
It can feel a bit too vulnerable.
Airing their dirty laundry in public, they don't want to do that. And some people don't like the, what shall I call it? It's not sort of religious element, although that's how AA started, as a very kind of evangelical kind of background.
Oh yeah, when you think about it, it's true. Yeah.
That was where it all came from, and they now call it. It's more of a it's more of a spiritual element than religious, but still a lot of people don't really relate to that. That what those organisations do as part of the 12-step their 12-step program is they say, right, you don't have control over your addiction. Yeah, you can't control it. Okay. So you have to give up control of your life to a higher power. Okay, now obviously that used to be God. Now they've changed it to a higher power. But if you're not a religious person,
it's
kind of, well, that doesn't really resonate with me. Yeah, so I'm not feeling it. And I don't like the group work and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now my approach is different.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe that everybody has the capacity to regain control over their addiction. Yeah. If you're in a place where you can't control it, you've just got to learn the skills and you've got to change your mindset, and enable yourself to, when you get that compulsive urge to do that thing, to do your addiction, to be able to say, no, I'm not doing that. Instead of going down that default route that you always do of ringing up your dealer or whatever,
or your mate or something.
Yeah,
your social group.
And essentially, all addictions are different versions of the same thing.
Yeah.
So whether it's cocaine, whether it's alcohol, whether it's food, whether it's sex, whether it's shopping, whatever your addiction is, in most cases, it's that person's way of temporarily escaping reality. Yeah. That's when people get addictions, in most cases. In a few cases, it can be just kind of, I started doing it socially with my mates, and I can't break out of the habit because substance addictions quite often have a physical element to it. You can become physically addicted to certain substances, like, for example, smoking, nicotine, very addictive substance. Heroin, again, very, very addictive substance.
It's a different level.
Yeah, absolutely. Cocaine, not so much. That's more of a psychological addiction, as is cannabis, weed. That's more of a psychological addiction.
Sorry, can you explain the difference? Because you're saying psychological addiction.
Yeah.
But all the others, aren't they psychological as well? Because isn't it all to do with your brains?
It's all to do with your brain. Yeah, absolutely. But there are some substances that are physically addicted. So, for example, with smoking, with nicotine, you've got nicotine receptors in your brain.
Yes.
Okay. If you try and stop smoking, you'll feel a compulsive urge. You might be able to do it for a couple of days, but then your nicotine receptors in your brain are screaming out, I need my nicotine fix. Yeah. And that's where people break down, that it's like that the compulsive urge to get that nicotine fix becomes overwhelming. and they find themselves puffing on a cigarette again. That's why you've got things like Nicorette patches, which stick one of those on, and that feeds the nicotine addiction, and you can break away from actually physically smoking, and then all you've got to do is wean yourself off the patches, But some substances are not physically addictive. You haven't got sort of receptors in your brain for them.
Okay.
But the habit is the issue. The habit is the problem.
I see.
Because you're using that substance or that behavior to manage your emotions. If you've got anxiety, or if you've got emotional problems, if you've got stuff going on in your life which is causing you grief, then how do you manage that? How do you escape from that? And if you find something that gives you an escape from those unwanted feelings for a period of time, then that becomes your go-to. And it could be Coke, it could be alcohol, it could be something like sex, or it could be shopping, shopping addiction. When you buy something, if you see something and you imagine, oh yeah, I really, really want that, and I can really, and you go and buy it, what then happens emotionally?
You feel good.
You feel good temporarily. It's I've got these shoes, or I've got this, or I've got this thing that I really, really wanted, and you kind of walk out the shop with this temporary feeling of elation. Based on a fantasy. That I'm going to wear those shoes when I go here, or when I'm, that kind of thing in your mind, and then you go home, you chuck them in the cupboard, and they never actually get worn.
Yeah, or even if you do wear it, once you've worn it, that buzz is gone now, because you've had that highlight, you've had that moment.
And so that applies to shopping, it applies to gambling. That's another big one. Because when you're, it's not a substance addiction. But what you're doing when you're gambling, and I find that particularly with things like roulette machines, they've got you've got roulette machines in betting shops. And you can play roulette on your phone.
That's insane. That's insane.
And people that are addicted to those kind of things, when they're playing the game, they are completely absorbed in the game, and you can shut out the rest of the world. All your problems, all of your worries temporarily go away while you're playing the game.
It's funny. Sorry to cut you, but
go on.
Some years ago, I had a colleague, and at the time I was a bit ignorant to how addiction worked. But I knew it was something that I should feel some empathy for someone for going through. This guy was bumping the train to come to work, and we were making very good money. He was bumping the train. He was stealing stuff from the local Asda at a self-check-in. His wife also had an addiction. So he said to me, I'm going to Blackpool this weekend, and we're not going to do any gambling. We're just going to enjoy the sea and the two of us. And then he came back and he said to me, he woke up and his wife was out of the bed.
Right.
So he went looking for her. She had gone to the casino and she gambled all their money. He had to bump the train back to London. So he came back and he started gambling again. And by the time he left the workplace, he had lost his house. So I know he's somewhere homeless with his wife right now.
It's
That's the honest to God truth.
And clearly they need help, don't they?
Need help, definitely.
That they were unable to manage it themselves, and they've lost everything. And quite often, that's the point where people come to me. They seek help, because they're on their uppers. It's like they've exhausted all of their options, and they've been stealing, as you said, and they've maxed out all their cars, and it's like I can't stop. And the reason that they can't stop is because that has become their stress management tool. Gambling itself, the very thing which is causing all their stress, is their way of
escaping.
Is their way of escaping reality.
That's crazy, because that has created a crazy reality for them, which they've got no other options, but yet they need to escape that reality which is created for them. That's insane.
But that's the same with gambling as with drugs. Yeah, you know, that again, with somebody with a coke addiction will only actually come for help when it's spiraled out of control.
I see.
You know, when it reaches a point where some element of their life is in peril, you know, and they're going to lose everything. They're going to lose their family, or they're going to lose their job, or whatever it happens to be. And it's like, yeah, I need help and I need it urgently. Because until they reach that point, people tend to delude themselves that, yeah, it's okay, it's going to be all right, I can manage it, I can stop if I want to.
Yeah,
you know? And then when they, you know, when they reach that certain point, it's like, yeah, please help. You know?
That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because a lot of people who know me know there was one point in my life where I done music. So I used to travel the entire country. And I saw so many things when traveling the entire country. And I remember one time I was in Ipswich. Yeah. And there was this woman in McDonald's, and she looked like she was on her last legs. She was messed up. Yeah. I felt sorry for her. So I asked her if she wanted some food. She asked me to buy her a meal. So I bought her a meal, and I got talking to her, and I asked her, look, what's got you to this stage? She was a prostitute. Yeah. And she showed me like literally images on her phone. She had an amazing house, an amazing life. She drove a Range Rover. And for the past 2 years, she's been a prostitute because she lost it all. Wow. And she lost it all due to coke addiction. Yeah. And I just couldn't believe someone could go from like there to rock bottom completely. Yeah. Like, that's actually very scary. Yeah. You know, is there a scientific side? And if you can you explain it? Because I've got a basic understanding when it comes, is it the neurons, receptors and stuff like that in the brain? I've got a basic understanding. What is the scientific element of people's addictions when it comes to things like cocaine and alcohol? With
cocaine, primarily it's a psychological addiction. You know, because in street cocaine, there's actually not very much coke at all. All right. You know, when you buy street drugs, obviously, what's the most important thing to the dealer? Is their profit margin. Yeah. Money. And so when your raw cocaine comes, you know, and it'll come to the UK via some, you know, kind of route where it's changing hands. Of course. And each time it changes hands, it gets bashed with more and more stuff added to it in order to sell more. Yeah, absolutely. So when they sometimes seize it, you know, when they catch a shipment coming into the country, and of course they analyze it, and it's like less than 10% cocaine. Wow. And the rest of it is any other shit that they'll put in it in order to, order to just kind of get that extra profit. But quite often they use dental anaesthetic.
They use gasoline as well.
I heard
they use gasoline.
I don't know,
petrol or something.
Maybe. I mean, they'll put anything into it that will, that'll help to spread it out. I even heard of somebody using rat poison. Oh my gosh. Adding rat poison it.
What kind of effect would that have on your body, rat poison? That's got to kill you, right? Or have what kind of effect would it have on you?
It's going to be dangerous. Of course it is.
Jeez. You know? And people would actually do this for profit.
People do it. Yeah, of course they do, because they don't care. They don't care about
But where are they going to get their regulars from then? If that person's dead.
Yeah, but they're selling it on to somebody else.
Oh, I see what you mean. So, so it's a different part of the chain.
It's kind of,
I see. Okay.
And so when you buy street drugs, you've got no idea what's in it whatsoever. It's not like going to the chemist, and if you buy paracetamol, you know that's 100% paracetamol. You know what it is because it says so on the box. Street drugs, you've got no idea whatsoever. Yeah. So you've got no idea what you're putting into your body. And
some of it goes direct to your brain as well, you know?
Yeah, of course.
That's crazy.
And so this is where people, this is part of the damage that it causes, But people are so kind of blinkered and kind of blinded by their own addiction that they don't even think of that. Yeah. They just think, I need my fix. Where am I going to get some? Got my dealer on speed dial.
That's it.
And the key to all of this is teaching somebody to be able to intercept that compulsive urge. Yeah, all addictions have one thing in common, and that's this compulsive urge that people get to do their addiction. Okay, so it'll be, and it's triggered by particular situations or particular people. You know, there'll be a time and a place where, and it might be down the pub, or it might be with a certain person, or it might be.
Yeah.
It might be sitting at your desk at work at a certain time and you're bored, and that triggers your addiction.
Yeah.
I need to do this thing. You know, and at that point, my strategy is to enable that person, you know, instead of just their default behavior of going on their phone and playing roulette, or ringing up their dealer, or, you know, whatever it is they do, just to be able to stop. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this.
So they've got to be able to recognize that precise moment. They've got to be able to recognize, oh, this is it.
Well, that's a subconscious thing. Yeah. So one of the therapeutic models that I'm trained in is hypnosis. Okay. So hypnosis works at a subconscious level.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So using hypnosis, you can train the subconscious mind to recognize that moment. Yeah. When you feel that urge, because it's all about how you feel in the moment. That's what's driving it. Yeah. Okay. It's that feeling, it's that urge. It's an emotional response. Okay. And if subconsciously you can recognize that feeling, and when that feeling is triggered, instead of doing your default behavior, it's like you've got to stop. I'm doing this instead, and you program that in with hypnosis at a subconscious level. Yeah, and it works.
I can imagine. Obviously,
it works for the multitude of people. You know, but of course, that's only part of the issue, because, as I said to you before, people use addictions as a way to manage their emotions, to escape their life problems. And another part of the therapy is that you've got to look what's driving the addiction. Yeah. Because if you don't look at the underlying problems, what's going to happen?
You're just never going to find a solution.
Exactly. If you don't look at what's underneath the surface, then either they're going to fall off the wagon within, a week or two. They're going to go back to their addiction because you've taken away their emotional crutch.
I see.
Or they're going to find something else. They're going to find some other unhealthy management tool. You take away the coke, and they're going to go to alcohol instead, or gambling, or something else. So you've also got to look at what are the underlying problems, what's causing all the stress in your life, and that can be a whole raft of different things. It could be stuff in the present day, it could be relationship stuff, it could be stuff that goes back decades, it could be stuff, and it quite often is stuff that goes back to childhood. That a person's addiction in the present day, even if they're in their 40s or their 50s, that when you go through their history with them, so how long have you had these issues? How long have you had these problems and these anxiety problems that you're telling me about, or whatever? And I said, well, it started off in school, or it started off when I was really young, the environment that I grew up in.
Wow. It's deep, because that's all like chambers within their psychological, the depths of their mind.
Yeah.
And you just open each and one of these doors, and they start remembering all these things. What I wanted to know is, can people actually you see how you might be able to treat them to be able to pinpoint these moments, pinpoint these events? Can people do that for themselves? Are there people out there who can do that for themselves? Because I do sometimes think, how is it that some people can avoid certain things or manage certain things, and then certain people just spiral out of control? Are people able to do that? Just talk to themselves like how they will talk to someone?
You can do, yeah. And a lot of people are trying to manage that themselves, for a long, long time. But people struggle with that. Do you know what I mean? Because it's something which I think almost always benefits from an outside intervention. It will benefit from going to a professional. Who you can have a conversation with, and isn't going to judge you.
Yeah.
They're just going to that they've got an understanding of psychology and how people think and how people feel, and they'll help you through it.
I suppose that's a good point, because when you add that element to it, that whole non-judgmental side of it, I suppose if you deal with it yourself, you could be hiding that shame, you could be convincing yourself, but when someone else speaks to you, you can realize, oh, I'm not the only one. And for instance, so funny, I'm not going to change the subject, but this might, go off the topic a bit, but I just found out I've got a phobia, which I thought I was the only one in the world who had, because I've never met anyone. I have a phobia of deep sea and waters where I can't see the bottom of it.
I've come across that before.
Now, I only found out on TikTok last night the name of it. I've forgotten the name, but I found out apparently millions of people around the world suffer from it. And I thought it was just me, because I'll go to the sea and I'm like, I'm staying over here. And I'll go deep. And then when it starts getting to a point where I'm like, I can't see the bottom, I'm like, no, what's under there? I don't know. And I run back. I run back to the shore. And I'm like that even at lakes. When I see lakes, I can go in there for a bit. The second I can't see my feet.
Up, as long as you're in your depth.
That's it. I start imagining things under there.
As long as you're in your depth, you're okay. But the moment that you kind of think, no, depth here.
Mate, I imagine all kinds of things.
You're out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that's another key element, because another area that I deal with a lot is phobias.
Okay.
And doing exposure work with people.
All right.
To help them to overcome their phobias.
Oh man.
Okay, and so whatever phobia.
Can I tell you my phobia is probably going to laugh at me. I think everyone's going to laugh if I tell you this.
Go on.
Right. So those of you who don't know, I'm from West Africa. Now, where some parts of West Africa, they're very superstitious.
Yeah.
Now, have you heard of something called mummy water?
No, that's new on me.
All right. So
we don't have that in Hornchurch.
Right. So I'm going to tell you what mummy water is. Mummy water is basically the queen of all mermaids.
Oh, right. Okay.
And to this day, there are people who believe a ship sinks, it was mummy water. This person done something wrong, it was mummy water.
Somebody drowns,
it was mummy water.
Definitely mummy water.
Oh, definitely mummy water. Now, if you look at her myth, it's worldwide. Or the myth of mermaids is worldwide.
Yeah.
So because it's something that I'm thinking, okay, it can't just be West African. The second I go into deep water, I imagine this mummy water, she's going to drag me down. It sounds silly, but that is the honest to God truth.
Now, the thing is, at a rational level, that's not true. Yeah, it's not real. It's no more real than Father Christmas.
Of course, of course. You were about to wear a Christmas hat over here. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Hey, now you're saying Father Christmas is not real. Come on, man.
Yeah, sorry, kids.
Don't listen to me.
But so that at a rational level, but emotionally, it's still bringing up a fear for you.
Yes,
which is which in the moment you find very difficult to manage. Yeah, as much as you'd like to reassure yourself, the fear is overwhelming, and you're out of that water. Yeah. The moment that you experience that, and that's the reality for most people with a phobia. Most phobias are highly irrational. There's only one or two. Like if you've got a phobia of fire, for example.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, fire is scary.
Yeah.
Fear of heights
makes sense.
It does make sense, but does it make sense when you're standing on the 13th floor looking out the window in safety, in somebody's flat, and you can't go near the window because it's like, no, it's too high up. No, I can't,
That's a bit too much.
Yeah. Or not being able to go to your local shopping centre because it's on 4 floors and you can't.
Way too much. Yeah.
And so you can help people to overcome those fears, and exposure work is the best way to do that. And that was something that initially when I learned hypnosis. There's, they teach you these ways of reprogramming the subconscious mind.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. And so you can use that to some extent. But what I've found is, over the years, is there's no substitute for the real thing. So if you want to help somebody to overcome their fear of heights, then you take them somewhere that's got lots of floors, and you start off on the ground floor. Well, start off on the first floor. How do you feel? You go up to the second floor, the third floor, and gradually, as even if they're on the third floor and they're looking down, initially they're kind of thinking, oh, this is a bit high, this is a bit uncomfortable. But give it 5 minutes and have a conversation with them about, what they had for dinner and where they went for their holidays. And in 5 minutes' time, they're standing there quite comfortable.
Yeah, completely forgotten.
Okay, all right, well, you're comfortable here now on the third floor. Let's go up a floor. Let's go up 2 floors, and gradually until you find yourself on the 15th floor, and they're like, yeah, well, that's okay. I can look down now and not feel that, and not feel that crippling fear.
I used to have a fear of heights.
Yeah.
My mother cured it for me. So when I was about, I don't know, what was primary school, we're looking at maybe 7, 8 or something like that. That's primary school, isn't it? I'm very bad with ages and yeah. And I remember there was a bridge we had to cross over the A406 motorway.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd freeze. Yes.
I'll walk right in the middle. I don't want to be on too much on that side, too much. I walk right in the middle and I'll be too scared to look.
Traffic.
Oh, I'm telling you, trust me. I was scared. And then one day my mum said to me, look, I'm going to go over that bridge and I'm going to leave you. And she goes, if I leave you, someone's going to take you and you're never going to see me again. I said, what am I more scared of? Never see my mum again or crossing that bridge.
Yeah.
Believe in me, I walked across that bridge. Then the next day I walked across it. Then the next day I walked across it. Eventually I was going by myself to school.
You did your own exposure therapy. Absolutely, yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
But I remember it was very, 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 it was petrifying. I was petrified.
Yeah. But that's what you have to do in order to retrain your subconscious mind, because that's what you're doing when you do exposure therapy, is your fight or flight response, which is a natural survival instinct that's being triggered, but it's being triggered inappropriately, It's being triggered by this fantasy of mummy water, that's something that's in the water that's going to kill me, or it's being triggered by whatever your phobia is. For the most common one is spiders.
Oh, no, I love spiders.
Yeah, I don't mind them at all. Yeah. I used to be afraid of spiders, but I overcame it myself, and I now regularly help people to overcome their fear of spiders.
How did you overcome the spider phobia? Or is it called arachnophobia?
Arachnophobia? Yeah, absolutely. Well, I overcame it just by, I suppose, in the same way that you did going over the bridge over the A406, just by exposing myself to them, and becoming comfortable with them. I see. But there are a lot of people with a very strong arachnophobia, this fear of spiders, and it prevents them from living their lives.
I know people who are scared of balloons.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
My wife is. That's her phobia.
I didn't want to say my wife too, because I don't expose. I said people, but now I can see your wife. I can tell the truth.
Yeah, she's got this fear of balloons, and it's. Well, with my wife, it originated from when she was a child.
Same here.
And her brother popping balloons very loudly in front of her, and obviously you've got that jump scare, haven't you? And so when there's balloons around, she's like constantly on edge of those balloons bursting. Yeah. That is something that you can overcome. All phobias can be overcome just by retraining your subconscious mind with exposure therapy, that it's okay, it's not going to hurt you, you're not going to die. It's and gradually in little stages, like so with spiders, for example, somebody that's got a really powerful fear of spiders, you start off with photographs, picture of a spider, how does that make you feel? And some people will be yeah, that's okay. But some people will be, I don't like it, no, take it away. Oh. So we start off with it, just looking at it for a couple of seconds, then I'll take it away. Okay. And then, gradually through the session, gradually getting closer, eventually it's like, okay, can you hold the picture? Yeah, I'm okay to hold the picture now. Can you touch the picture? Yeah. Because it's only ink on paper. Yeah. And it's going to be okay. And so they get to that stage. And then I've got dead spiders, in a little box, There's the dead spider in the box. Okay, can you, how do you feel about it being this close to you? And it's like, oh, okay. Eventually you get them holding it, opening it, tipping it out on their hand, just in little tiny steps, And then you bring in the live ones. Yeah. And so, okay, here's a live spider.
You're trying to give people heart attacks, man. Whoa.
But it works.
Seriously.
Yeah, it works. If you look on my website, there's people, there's videos on there of people that have had crippling, spider phobias, actually letting spiders walk on their hand. Yeah, that they've got to that point where, where that fight or flight response has completely been overcome, and they can let the spider walk on their hand, and there's no fear. The fear is gone.
Jeez.
That's
quite interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I wanted to touch on the bit you said about the street drugs and how you don't know what you put inside of you. Because as you were saying it, something came to mind. Have you ever heard of a rapper who he's passed away now? His name was Mac Miller.
No.
He died of an overdose.
Right. Yeah.
And for years throughout his whole career, he always talked about like, I'm gonna die of an overdose. He'd always like mention it somehow, some way. Like I think he had his lyric where he goes, to everyone that sell me drugs, don't mix it with that bullshit because I don't want to join the 27 club. And he died at 26, and he died of an overdose from drugs that he bought from the streets.
Yeah.
Also, there was an actor, I've forgotten his name, but did you ever watch The Wire?
The Wire, the film.
No, it was like a TV series.
TV series.
Yeah.
No,
okay, there was a character named called Omar. I forget his real name, but I call him Omar for now.
Yeah.
He passed away from street drugs as well. So it got me thinking, like, when people, like, these people are wealthy.
Yeah.
Why do they need to go to the streets? Is that part of the addiction where they've like maybe lost all those contacts, or they've burnt out those bridges or something? What makes them go to get these street drugs if they're so wealthy? Aren't there different classes of drugs? Like, can't they go and get them from somewhere that's a bit better?
There's different. There are different classes. There are different purities of drug. Of course, if you've got the money and your sources, then you can get pure cocaine. You can get or sort of almost completely very, very high quality stuff. Yeah, but you're still vulnerable to to overdosing. You're still because when you're doing a drug, you're chasing the feeling. You're chasing that high. Yeah. Okay. So with cocaine, for example, the first time you do cocaine, or the first couple of times that you do cocaine, you get this euphoric high. You get this incredible experience. But like most substances, alcohol is another one. The more you do, the more your body becomes accustomed to it.
I see.
And so once you've done coke a couple of times, the effect of it becomes less and less. And so you start taking more to try and get that high. And the reality is that because of our own body chemistry, you'll never reach that high again. You'll never reach that euphoria, but people keep chasing it, And that is one way that people end up overdosing themselves because they are hooked on it.
They're continuously chasing as well.
Chasing that experience, chasing that feeling, and they accidentally overdo it. The other way that people accidentally overdose sometimes is if they come off it. So you're used to doing a regular amount of a certain drug because your body's become acclimatized to it, and then you stop. Yeah, that you're trying to come off the addiction, you're trying to stop doing it, but maybe give it, I don't know, a month or two, something like that. They fall off the wagon.
I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
They take the normal dose that they've been used to having, but because their body has their resistance to that drug, or their body's ability to deal with that drug has lessened, has lowered. suddenly it's an overdose.
Yeah, 'cause
and
the
amount
body
that they
can't handle it.
usually handle kills them.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And that happens, and sadly, that happens
That's
regularly.
Isn't that what happens to Jimi Hendrix? Apparently he stopped for a bit and then he just got back on it and it just took him out.
I'm not certain. I do know in the back of my mind somewhere what killed Jimi Hendrix, but I can't remember.
It was definitely drugs though, Jimi Hendrix, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was drugs or alcohol or or what it what it was. But that's the kind of thing that happens. That happens a hell of a lot, you know, and irrespective of wealth, of social class, you know, this goes right across every strata of society. You know, for the addictions that I work with, I've worked with, you know, people from, you know, sort of people who have got nothing to the very highest strata of society. You know, we're talking nobility here. You know, that come in with addiction problems because they're not happy in their lives.
Where did the nobility get their drugs from? With the streets, I can understand. With people, middle class people, I can understand. Nobility, where they gonna go? Say, oh, can you get me that? They got bodyguards and they got like drivers and all this kind of stuff. Where they get their drugs from? From
recommendations from other people in their strata of society that are on it.
So nobility drug dealers.
Yeah, absolutely. That there are, you know, that there are people, there are go-to people at every strata of society. You know, and it's who you know, who's recommended to. If you want anything, if you want building work done, you know, so you'll ask somebody that you know, won't you? Get a personal recommendation, you know. And there are people that service in those very high levels of society, and all the way down the chain, all the way down to the bottom.
It's funny because we live in a world where a lot of people don't understand just how, you know, this thing is from one end to the other end of the spectrum and from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not something that's just with one class or one, you know, status. It's everyone is having problems with this drugs, with this alcohol, with all these things that just literally take over our bodies and our minds and just put us in places where we need help to get recovery from.
And why is that?
I think it's like you said. I think, you know, we're living in very stressful times. I think we always have, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think it's even more heightened now because I think now, me personally, I'm just going to give my personal opinion. I think the reason why now is even more of a problem is because social media makes people chase lifestyles that they cannot afford, that they cannot obtain, and makes them feel inadequate, makes them feel insignificant, and makes them feel like they're broke.
That's part of it, yeah.
That's one of it.
I agree. That is a factor. You know, people trying to live Instagram lives, you know, and worrying way too much about what other people think.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And how many likes have I got? And you know, and there's also peer pressure.
Yes.
That everybody else is doing it. And if I'm not doing it, I'm the odd one out.
Yeah, like a
and
nerd.
I feel left out. You know,
cool.
all my mates are doing coke down the club, and when I've had a couple of drinks, it's very, very difficult to say no. So you've got that element to it as well.
Also, I think musicians as well. Musicians have always glorified drugs. They made it look like it's way more glamorous than it actually is.
Yeah.
You know, because I remember when I was younger, I used to love, you know, Jay-Z, Eminem, all these guys. And Jay-Z used to talk about this, at the time, they used to call ecstasy E.
Yeah.
He used to say, oh, mummy's on E. When they say mummy, slang word for like the girl that I'm with.
Yeah.
Oh, mummy's on E. And you're like, what the hell? Like, how many young people are going to listen to that and think, okay, my girl should be on E too if you're on E?
And it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's acceptable. And that's what's happened is this whole lifestyle culture has come out of, it's all right. Drugs are just part of life. You know, it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's a personal choice, you know, I'm not going to sort of take away from that because if people are going to choose to do that, then that is their choice. But be aware of the consequences. You know, life isn't risk-free. Yeah. You walk down the street, you could get knocked over. You're driving, you know, you're traveling. So, you know, you can't avoid risk at all.
Yeah.
You know? So if people want to do that, I'm not going to condemn them for it.
Of course, yeah.
But like alcohol, I enjoy a drink. You know, I enjoy a couple of beers,
you're not like
a couple of glasses
plastered
of wine.
all over the place, and
I'm not getting hammered. You know, I'm not getting completely wasted, and I'm not doing it daily. I'm not even doing it. I'm not even doing it weekly. It's kind of in moderation. That's that's absolutely fine. And alcohol is a drug.
It is, definitely.
You know, okay, it's a legal drug, but it's a drug. Same as caffeine is a drug. You know, so if people want to do recreational drugs in moderation, that's entirely up to them. But when it starts taking over your life, when it starts destroying your life, then you've got to do something about it. You know, you've got to get some, you've really got to get some help.
Because you see some people, like sometimes you see them just stood out on the high street with like cans in their hand or bottles in their hand, and you think, how did you get to that level? Like, that is very, very scary.
Yeah, what happened?
Very, very scary. Yeah, what happened? And to be honest, most of the time you hear those people's stories, there's always something that they lost.
Yes.
Or something that they couldn't find. Something that they're just like, oh, it's not like even lost. It's something that they probably like just, it keeps triggering this sorrow in their life.
It's trauma. It's pain. It's trauma. And they're using alcohol or whatever it happens to be to escape from it. You know, but the problem is every time that it wears off, every time that they sober up, they've got to face the reality of the chaos of their lives. You know, and as you said, with gambling before, you know, your default go-to stress or anxiety management tool becomes your downfall.
Yeah.
I mean, food is another addiction that you touched on earlier. Yeah. We have an epidemic of obesity. Okay, it's become the number one killer.
I suffer from that.
Do you?
Yes, I definitely suffer from that.
Yeah.
Yep. I may not have been diagnosed with it, and I may be doing diagnosis, but I believe I do have a food addiction.
Right. Okay. Any particular food?
Stuff that isn't good for me.
Okay.
Stuff that isn't good for me.
So what's your go-to? Yeah. What's your go-to thing for making you feel good?
I just like savory stuff like crisps.
Yeah.
Or sweet stuff like maybe maybe a Snicker bar or something. I don't do it all the time because in comparison to what I was before and what I am now, and I tell people all the time I'm going through a transitional phase, because I've acknowledged it and I'm working on it. I can look now and see, okay, I had an addiction, now I don't, but I still fight with that battle.
Yeah. You've still got that conflict going on in your mind of, I could fancy so and so. No, check yourself. Yeah, it's like no, you don't. And the when dealing with food, the strategy that I try to get people to employ is: do I need it? Or do I just want it?
That's the thing.
Okay, that's the thing. Because unlike most other addictions, okay, you can do without cocaine. You can do without alcohol. You can do without gambling. You can't do without food.
Yes.
Yeah. You have to have food in your life. You're dependent on it. So what needs to be managed is your relationship with food.
Yes.
Okay,
that's very correct.
And so, looking at it from a practical point of view, it's good to have a healthy diet, food that you need. And, ideally 3 meals a day. For some people, it's just 2 meals a day. They might skip breakfast and just have lunch and have dinner. And if that food is part of your, a sort of normal daily intake and it's not excessive, then that's absolutely fine.
Of course, yeah.
But each time that you think about eating something, ask yourself that question. Is this something that I need? Is it part of breakfast or lunch or dinner? Or is it something I just want?
That's the thing. That
I just want, because it's like, because that Snickers bar or those crisps are so tasty, and you're using it to manage your emotions. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like cocaine or alcohol or whatever, and this is where I think the food addiction often comes from. Is people are using food as their drug of choice.
Yes. Because these are all essentially all drugs. They have an effect on you somehow, some way. So technically,
and what happens when you're eating? When you are eating a bag of crisps, okay, what are you thinking? What are you feeling?
Just my taste buds are loving it.
Exactly.
My taste buds are just
when
loving
it. When you're eating those favorite foods, it's all about the flavor and the texture. Yeah, it's like, oh, nom 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 nom. Oh man, these crisps are so good. Or how I love Snickers bars. Or a chunky Kit Kat. Yeah.
No.
A peanut butter chunky Kit Kat.
Snickers.
That's my personal. Kind of
that's
weakness.
your one, yeah,
absolutely, yeah. It's the king of chocolate bars. Did you know that?
Who told you that? Come on, man. Seriously, Snickers. Every once in a while though.
So when you're eating those favorite foods, there's nothing else in your mind. It's all about the food. It's all about the texture. It's all about the flavor.
Yeah.
Once you've finished eating, you're back in reality again with your crappy life and all of the stress and all of the worries that you've got. So what happens then?
You go and find another fix.
Exactly. You go like,
one kill.
What can I eat now?
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
And this is why, and also we've got in our modern society, we've got freely available food. Well, not completely free, but we've got. Do you know what I mean?
It's dangerous.
You've got cheap food available 24/7.
Listen, Peter, you open your phone and you think, okay, I can't bother to cook. Let me order something.
Yeah,
and
Deliveroo.
80% of it is just killer.
Yeah,
it's just death. Literally,
on
is.
A plate
and this
or
is
in a bag.
Yeah, this is why I said to you earlier. I asked you, can people, train their thoughts and tell themselves, because I had to do it to myself. And the reason why I did it was I had to find the root to my problem. The root to my problem was my mum passed me in 2016. And I coped with it by literally just going crazy. Like literally, I was eating what I wanted to eat. I didn't care. And I didn't, and at the time
with
I also...
food?
Yeah. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Because I'm
so
not...
you're eating your emotions. You're eating your grief.
I'm telling you. I was doing it. And at the time also, I was also ignorant to the science behind food.
Yeah.
I knew about vitamins and nutrients, but I didn't know what they were. I didn't know which one gave me what. I just knew carrots are good for your eyes. Why are they good for your eyes? Tell me the science behind it.
That's a myth.
That is a myth. I've heard someone say that before. Yeah.
Do you know where it came from?
Where?
World War II.
Oh, is it?
World War II. When they started putting radar in planes. Yeah. To track the German bombers at night, and. Because they didn't want the Germans to find out about that, they said no. All our pilots, our night fighter pilots, eat carrots because that gives them super eyesight, so they can see the bombers at night. And that was where that came from. Seriously, it started in World War II. That carrots are great for your eyesight because that was the propaganda. Eating habits, right? World War II. Yeah, people's eating habits. This is another aspect of food addiction and eating habits that I end up dealing with, is because obviously during World War II you had rationing.
Yes,
food was very, very scarce. And so every last scrap had to be used. Yeah, what effect does that have on families when you're dishing up dinner? Yeah, that was where this idea came from of. You have to clear your plate. Yeah, you can't leave any food on your plate.
That is quite interesting.
Okay, because food is scarce, and so you've got to eat everything. Okay, and that's just been passed down from generation to generation. Okay, now if you are overweight, what's the issue generally?
Obviously, you're overindulging.
Unless you've got a medical problem, unless you've got diabetes or something like that. You're eating more food than you actually need. So when you feel full, what should you do? Stop.
At some point you should realize it.
But because of this thing that's been passed down through generations of you must clear your plate. Every scrap of food that's been served up to you, or you're not having any dessert until you finish your plate. And so that trains you to ignore that feeling of being full and carry on forcing the food down, all of those extra calories that you don't need. And where's it going? Round your middle and spread out over your body.
And I suppose that connects to what I was saying before about the not understanding the science of food. When I started to realize the science of food, like how it works, what it's doing to my emotions, what it's doing to my mood, what it's doing to my brain, what it's doing to my body, I started to realize, hold on. So even if I wasn't eating out of depression or wasn't eating out of the loss of my mom, I'm still like aware of this thing, I'm aware of it regardless. So regardless of why I'm doing it, I need to make sure that I can control it. And that's why I always say with the transitional phase I'm going through, I started to control it. And I started to realize, what's good for me, what's not good for me. And also from a religious perspective as well, I started to see, some people don't believe in God, I believe in God. And so if I look at God's creation and I look at all the things that he gave us, they don't give us cancer. They don't give us, obesity. Water is good for you. But we go and drink these sugary drinks and then look what happens to us. Vegetables, fruits, they're good for you. But we say, hey, forget it. I want to go and eat this and eat that. And then we wonder why we get liver problems, kidney problems, heart failure. I started to look at it from that perspective and I look at it from a scientific perspective. And they both kind of, intermerge with each other. They merge with each other and made me think, you know what? I think I'm just going to try and watch what I eat now. So I see death now. When I see certain foods, I actually see death. Like that's the thought I have straight away.
And that's a healthy thing, isn't it? That is enabling you to eat more healthily and take care of your, take care of your health and take care of your life.
100%.
And I'm pretty much the same. I've got one or two little weaknesses, but
football.
Not especially football. I don't know what I gained that. Did you watch it?
I didn't, I was editing.
Were you?
Yeah, I was editing. But I was getting the highlights on my phone, pinging off every once in a while. But But I'm not really a massive football fan, if I'm going to be honest.
No.
I only watched it because Ghana was in. Once Ghana was gone, I was turned off. I was like, forget this.
I never was until my son got into it.
Is it?
Yeah.
So what age roughly did you get into it? And it must have been like in like...
This is only within the last 5 years or so.
Seriously?
Yeah. I was never really...
I hope I never get into it.
Never bothered, never interested in it. But it's something that he got into, and he got into it through playing FIFA on Xbox.
And that was it. He just dragged you into the world.
And once he started playing it, because he was never interested in it, but he was playing it with his mates on the Xbox and got good at it, and started knowing all the players and all the teams, and then it started being... Dad, can we watch the match?
And this thing you realise, you're like,
can we? And I'm like, and because it's something that we can do together,
interesting.
Because I had my interests outside psychology, and that was always cars and planes.
I've seen so many cars on your Instagram, and I'm like, damn, this man loves cars.
I love cars,
but you love classic, like sports cars.
I love classic sports cars. I love Formula One. I love... so we went to see... that's another thing that my son got into was Formula One, the Grand Prix.
Okay.
And, that was something that I managed to kind of introduce him to, and which he picked up upon. But again, he's been playing it on Xbox and knows all... And knows all the tracks, all the circuits, way better than I do, and so, and so when we're sitting there watching like the Italian Grand Prix or something, he'll be saying, watch that corner, Dad, it's really, really tricky.
So they've got the real actual tracks on the games, the real, every kind of, whoa, that's interesting.
The whole season, all the real cars, all the drivers and everything. That's
very, very interesting.
And so, he's learned all the tracks, and he learns, and he knows that all from Xbox. And then we can sit and watch the Grand Prix. And I actually took him this year to the British Grand Prix. which was a brilliant experience, you know.
So that's good. He's got you in something, you've got him into something, and now you can you can share. That's beautiful for as a parent. That's beautiful.
I used to try and take him to air shows because that was like one of my other big things, you know. And I took him up to sort of Duxford, you know, and there's all these Spitfires and Mr. Smiths and you know, the old World War II Warbirds and all that kind of thing. And I'm like, wow, you know. And he's like, "Can we go home, Dad? I'm bored."
The uncool dad, man. The uncool dad.
God. He was the uncool son. You know, it's like you don't appreciate it. Well, I can't force.
In that realm, he's not cool. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I can't force you to like this. So you know, it's okay. It's disappointing, but now we've found things that we love. You know, I've taken him to a couple of football matches. I've managed to get like West Ham tickets and stuff like that. And that's a great day out for both of us.
For a man who didn't like football, now you're going to watch them in the actual stadium.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's brilliant. You know, it really is. Yeah, it really is. It really is. Yeah,
that's good. That's good parenting. That's very, very good parenting. You know, to see that bond and actually like act on it rather than be like, "Oh, that's my son's thing."
Yeah,
you know, that's good. Yeah,
yeah, because it's important.
Yeah,
isn't it? You know.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny that leads to even the conversation that we're having. Imagine you felt like you know, some people could feel like, oh, the neglect of you not being interested in what they're doing, and they'll go and find that connection somewhere else, and that's very dangerous, you know. You know,
it's I mean, just on that theme of parenting, one thing that I come across a lot is people feeling that they were dismissed by their parents. You know, is that. And they come into therapy as adults, you know, but their relationship with their parents was toxic. Like their parents were never there for them emotionally or even kind of physically, that they were emotionally distant.
Yeah.
Or my dad was never around, or, you know, and they didn't get the nurturing, they didn't get the love and the attention that a child needs. Because, I mean, you're a dad, aren't you? Relatively new dad. How old's your daughter?
1 year, 8 months. 1 year, 8 months, yeah.
What do kids need more than anything else? What does your daughter want more than anything?
Always. I give her all the attention in the world, man.
They want your attention. They want your love.
I changed my job for my daughter to have more time for her.
Yeah, and all the time, daddy, isn't it? Yeah, you know, and if you're gonna treat your child like they're an inconvenience, you know, like, oh, go away, go to your room, you know, I want to watch my program or I want to read my magazine, I'm not really interested, I'm not really bothered. How does that make a child feel?
Oh my gosh.
You know?
For a mind that can't comprehend why you're doing that, they're going to think they're naughty, it's all me, what did I do wrong, why don't you love me?
That causes, so imagine the hurt and the distress that causes a child when they're dismissed by their parent, okay? What then is going to happen? Yeah? It's going to affect their self-esteem, yeah? It's how they feel about themselves is going to be rock bottom. It causes constant distress because they're not getting their emotional needs met. You know, they're being continually rejected by the very people who are supposed to be nurturing them and building them up. That then causes them to feel, well, how can I get my parents' attention? That's all that I want and I can't get my parents' attention by doing good things. They just dismiss me and they ignore me. The only time I get their attention is when I'm naughty. Yeah. Is when I'm naughty or if I break something. So to get their attention, being told off, being disciplined is better than being ignored. Yeah, it's better than feeling, because when I get told off, at least they know I exist.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. And so children start to become children that are being kind of, you know, ignored and dismissed become deliberately disruptive, deliberately uncooperative. Yes. And then they go to school and they're labelled uncooperative and
Yes.
destructive and constantly distracted because their mind's all over the place because they're in this state of distress, and they're labelled ADHD.
Jeez.
Yeah. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Where's the attention deficit? The attention deficit is with the parents.
Yes. But sometimes don't you think it could be the parents are busy, they got jobs that demand so much of their social life, they have a little bit of time for themselves and a little bit of time for their families. That contributes some of it as well, doesn't it? Sometimes they might not intentionally or deliberately ignoring their child.
Yeah. Life's not, life's not.
Life can be unfair.
Life can be difficult. Yeah. But if you don't give your child the love and the time and the care that they need, there's consequences to that. That is going to have an impact later on in their lives. It's going to impact them through school. It's going to impact them, into adulthood, and they then come into therapy, and they've got a drug addiction, and they can't hold down relationships, and dysfunctional stuff happening in other ways. And when you get to the bottom of it, what's the underlying problem? When you peel all the layers away,
childhood trauma.
So often, the underlying issue is low self-esteem, which manifests itself in a whole variety of different ways in people's lives. And where does the low self-esteem come from? It's childhood. It's childhood trauma, and then when the irony is that it's okay. Well, tell me about your parents. Tell me about your relationship with your parents. Well, my parents had a tough life, and they had a very tough upbringing. I remember my grandparents, my grandfather, and that he was a very harsh man, and so this trauma is just being passed down again from one generation to the next. That they're, that their parents learn their parenting skills from the environment they grew up in. Yeah. And it just gets handed down from one generation to the next generation to the next until somebody makes a choice.
Yeah. I think me and my wife are making that choice, because me and my wife, we talk a lot.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we're very deep thinkers. We like to reflect and just analyze things. And we look at our daughter and we always say to ourselves, we must remind ourselves that she doesn't know anything, and whatever we show her and teach her is what she's going to know. So we're very mindful of how our daughter's going to perceive us. And we're very mindful of how we should interact with her. So, like I said, I changed my job to have more time for my daughter. Because we talked about the fact that if she doesn't see you around as often as she needs to, and she doesn't get that attention from you, in the future, some other man's going to get that attention. And he might be an arsehole. It happens. It happens. Where are these prostitutes coming from? Where are these drug addicts coming from?
I see it all the time.
These supermodels who just go out there and just don't even realize these men are perving all over them. So Instagram, look at it. All these Instagram models that show every single inch of their body. I guarantee you, look at the reason why they do that for free on those social media platforms, because they don't have the attention that they need. So that's the substitute.
Yeah. And they're desperate for it. They've got this need for attention.
Of course.
Yeah. And where does that need come from? Absolutely. That that's been set out somewhere in the past.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that that brings another area that I work with, and that's narcissism.
You need to touch on that, because I don't know what this narcissism things. I hear girls saying it a lot these days on social media. Narcissist. What is narcissism?
Okay, narcissism is a psychological disorder. Okay, and it is under the umbrella. All of these, psychological disorders like bipolar and borderline personality disorder. There's a whole raft of them, but they all come under the umbrella term of complex PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay. So now some people might think, well, okay, how does narcissism fit in with that? Okay. people aren't born as narcissists, the same as people aren't born bipolar. You know, it's a product of the environment that they grow up in.
Okay.
There is a genetic component, you know, because you've got to have a kind of the possibility of the things that happen to you in life actually kind of manifesting in that way. Yeah, you know that. So there is a genetic propensity for things to play out that way.
Okay.
But again, if you grow up in an environment where you are where you're continually dismissed, yeah, by parents or a parent who really only cares about themselves, you know, and isn't inclined to give you the nurturing that you need, but typically provides you all with all the material things, then emotionally, okay, how does that feel? That's going to go one of two ways. Yeah. It's gonna end up with quite fragile self-esteem.
Yes,
yeah, because you're being dismissed and because you're being devalued. Now, people find various coping mechanisms, various coping strategies for that. But your own daughter, she's like a sponge, isn't she?
Oh yeah.
That she sees your behaviour and she will mirror that, won't she?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. So if you've got a narcissistic parent, for example, then quite often narcissistic people are a product of the narcissistic environment that they grow up in. You know, they see a parent behaving in that way, and think, yeah, well, okay, that works for me. You know, that way of being, that way of that attitude that they see from their parent.
I understand that, but what I want to know is what are the traits that make a narcissist? Like what consists of that title?
So the traits are that a narcissist really only cares about themselves. Okay. Everything that they do, every interaction is all about themselves all the time.
So they lack empathy, they lack sympathy. They
lack empathy, yeah. Another strand of it is that because of the environment that they grow up in, their emotional development, and one element of their emotional development gets stuck at quite an early age. Yeah, okay. that emotional development stalls, and they get stuck at the age of about sort of maybe 2, 3, 4, something like that. So when you're dealing with a narcissist, essentially you're dealing with a child in an adult's body. Okay, and this is why narcissists quite often have tantrums. Yeah, they have complete raging meltdowns. Yeah, and that's a toddler tantrum.
Yes.
Yeah. And a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old hasn't developed the ability to empathise.
Yes.
Yeah. When you're that age, it's all about you. It's all about what you want.
Mine.
Yeah. Me. Yeah. Now, as they grow up, they do develop social skills. Okay, so they will learn how to get what they want by schmoozing other people. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so they learn how to be charming. They learn how to how to influence people, how to get what they want. But underneath, they don't really care. Yeah. So if you get sucked into a relationship with a narcissistic person, they fixate on you as the thing that they want. And I say thing because they don't see you as a person. Okay? If you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you'll only ever be their pet. Okay.
Wow.
When they get into a relationship, it's like going to a pet shop and buying a puppy. Yeah. So they fixate on you as, oh yeah, they're a really cool, really good looking person. And that when I get with that person, that's going to
reflect nicely on me.
That's going to reflect nicely on me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to love bomb that person. Okay, that's what they do. They bring all their charm and all of their strategies that they use to influence people and to get them on board. And they're very persuasive. They're very kind of, because they know what they want. And so initially, when you meet this person, they're lovely, they're charming, they've always got their gang around them, and they give this impression of being really cool, and so they get you on board. But then they get bored. They've got a short attention span, because inside they're a toddler. It's like
one toy to the other.
Yeah, and so initially, once they've got over this love bombing phase, and the initial euphoria of that relationship starts to wear off, then they'll start being nasty. They'll start being critical. They'll start having their tantrums. The nightmare begins of being in this relationship with this person who's suddenly switched from being this lovely, wonderful, charming, warm, generous person to a nightmare.
Now I see why all these women on social media are always saying he's a narcissist, and because I used to think, why are they always choosing this one term?
Well, to be fair, that term narcissist has become very fashionable. It's not always used appropriately.
Okay.
Because narcissistic personality disorder is a very specific diagnosis.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's often misused to as a weapon against somebody that is that maybe doesn't want to do what you want to do, or or that you've had an argument with, or something like that. And so it's sometimes a label that's thrown out there.
Kind of like when they say you're a bully,
or she's a narcissist. It's like, well, hold on, that's not necessarily accurate. Let's look at their actual behavior. Let's look at whether they've got these other narcissistic traits, like the narcissistic rages, and the other traits that go with it. The gaslighting, which is another thing that narcissists do. Do you know what that means?
I've heard the term gaslight. I don't know what it means. No,
it means deliberately. Well, it's not even deliberate.
Isn't it like when you basically just give someone so much attention and so much love and so much compliments that they start feeling good about themselves?
No, that's not it.
Okay.
Gaslighting is where you present an alternate reality that doesn't exist. For example, if you know that the narcissist has said something to you like, yeah, I'm taking you away on a holiday to Italy, and we're going next March, and a few weeks is going by, and you say, well, are we going to do anything about this holiday to Italy? What holiday to Italy? You told me you were taking away on a holiday to Italy. I never said that. I never said that. Well, I remember you saying it. No. I didn't say that. I never said that at all. You must be going mad. I never said we were going to Italy. Yeah, that's gaslighting. If they're denying a reality that you remember, you're sure of. I remember you saying that clearly. But saying, no, you've managed that. That must be somebody else.
Man.
Who else are you seeing that told you they were going to take you to Italy?
Oh, yeah? Wow.
Where have you got this Italy thing from?
I feel sorry for anyone who's going through that.
And then melt down into a narcissistic rage. You always do this, you're always making things up about me. And you're like, what the hell's going on? So gaslighting is trying to alter the reality of what they've said or what they've done. You know, they're in complete denial. They're in complete denial about something that you know that was true. But then, of course, they're so vociferous about it that you start doubting yourself.
Wow. I'm so glad you brought that down, because
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. I genuinely I assumed gaslighting was obviously a gaslight, like make someone feel like, yeah, you've gassed me up, you know?
It's very opposite of that. It is very dark. And that's one of the, that's again, one of the core traits of real narcissistic personality disorder is that they do that. And my own take on that, the reason why they do that is because, again, you're dealing with a toddler. Okay, yeah. Now, I'm sure you'll go through this as a parent. Your daughter's probably a bit young at the moment, but children have fantasies and they'll tell you things in the moment. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if I'm sure at some point she'll come in with chocolate all around her face.
See, I never ate it.
And exactly. And it's like, who's been eating the chocolate? I didn't eat any chocolate. And you can see it on their face. I didn't eat any chocolate, Daddy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what you're dealing with gaslighting. Is that
grown-ups?
Is that it's a grown-up being presented with something that they did or something that they said at the time, in the moment, where they just said it for effect, or they just said it in the moment, and they don't really care that they said that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't care that I said I was taking you to Italy. I never intended to take you to Italy. I only said it at the time to impress you.
Yeah.
And now you're trying to twist my arm up my back to follow through on something that I just said in the moment. Yeah. But their way of dealing with it is like a child. It's just rather than saying, "Yeah, I know I said that," and but stuff's happened and now I can't make it. There's just this childish, flat out denial. No, I never said that. Where'd you get that from?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But the thing is that once you get into a narcissistic relationship, and you're confused by this, by this behavior of somebody that switches from being really nice and really pleasant and great to get along with to being a complete nightmare at other times, you just don't know where you stand from one minute.
I can imagine.
Right, from 1 minute
especially
to the
if
next.
you're not mentally strong. Like, you've got to be really mentally strong to realize, okay, I see what's going on here.
It messes people up, and so that's another strand. As I've learned more and more about narcissism and about narcissistic personality disorder, and the interesting thing is that it's something that was never actually taught to me in my in my psychology training and my therapy training.
Was it not something that was discovered back then, or?
Yeah, it was definitely, it was kind of known about, but it was just never touched upon.
Oh, wow.
As it started cropping up with clients that I was seeing, and kind of, it's like, I need to go and understand this more. I need to go and...
So you self-taught yourself this kind of stuff?
Self-taught myself. For anybody that has... thinks they might be in a narcissistic relationship or has got something going on, there is an excellent therapist, Dr. Ramani. Ramani. Okay. An American psychologist, and she's done, must be hundreds of YouTube videos, all about different aspects of narcissism, what it is. It's a fantastic resource. So I recommend, if you're in a narcissistic relationship, or if you've come out of one and you're feeling like somebody that's stumbling out of the wreckage, I always refer people that come to me for that kind of help. So go and check out Dr. Ramani, because she is so damn good. I'm
sure many people suffer these kind of personalities. They come across them at work, they come across them in relationships, like you said, family members.
That's narcissistic,
parents, like you said.
Mothers.
What will be the common trait of a narcissistic mother?
Lack of empathy, gaslighting, not being emotionally available, being very emotionally distant, or
would it be very controlling, try and control all aspects of your life?
Very controlling, very controlling. That's another, that's another trait. They can either be distant if you are, if you're the sort of the black sheep, of the family, or you might be the golden child. Yeah, the child on which all the praise is heaped. That you're the narcissist's favourite, but that can create significant problems. Because if you're then being tutored into that parent's brand of narcissism. That you're my little golden child and you're absolutely perfect and everything that you do is wonderful, and be like me, so it's...
Man, this is so interesting.
It's messed up.
It is messed up because it does, you can see why people come to you with these problems, because now I'm not just seeing it as if, oh, you just can't stop drinking or you just can't stop smoking and you have some trauma. We just like to label it, oh, you just have some trauma. You can see the kind of different scenarios that can create that trauma, that can push them to their knees where they're on the floor begging for help. Yeah, I think anyone who's going through those things definitely needs to seek help, man. Definitely. It sounds like something that can, oh man. Like I said, my old colleague, he lost his house. He's homeless.
Yeah.
And I'll never know the root to his problem. I'll never know.
No.
It's been an amazing conversation. And what would you like to give to people who might need your services? Where can they find you? What would you like to say?
I have got, you can contact me by phone. I'm sure you'll put my phone number up
if you want, I'll put it up
on the end.
Yeah.
I've got 3, is it 3 or 4 websites? I've lost track.
When you send them to me, I have them all on the screen in the description.
Put them down there. There's one specifically for coke addiction.
Okay.
There's one for online counselling.
Okay.
And there's my more sort of general umbrella kind of website. That's on that's there as well. So email me, phone, text, and it doesn't matter where you are on the planet. Okay.
Technology.
If you're not near enough to come and see me face to face, we can do it. We can do it via technology. We can do it online. Yeah?
Wonderful.
Okay, so I'm always pleased to take on new clients.
Thank you very much, Peter Phelps, for coming down. It's been an amazing conversation. Guys, I need you to like, comment, share, subscribe. And if you've learned something from this, if you've gained something from this, if you think someone will, please share this, because it's very interesting stuff. And that's the reason why we do this, so you guys can gain something informational and better yourselves. Guys, The Drazzy Show, God bless.
Take care, bye-bye.
The Drazzy Show.